Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest area webinar. My name is Mark Sage. I'm the Executive Director of the area. And today we are actually running our 70th webinar. So really excited to have done that many webinars and all sorts of different thought leadership over the years. But now we're going to be talking about reinventing the AR user experience. And I'm going to be having a nice, informative and informal conversation with a couple of the leaders from Amalgamated Vision. But before we kind of get into the detail there, let's just do a quick introduction of the area. For people who know the area, it stands for Augmented Reality Enterprise Alliance. And as you can read, it's a global membership-funded, non-profit alliance helping to accelerate the adoption of enterprise AR. We recently have become part of the EDMA, Enterprise Data Management Association, which is really exciting because it brings some of the important bits that we see within AR, including data and AI, but also the standards organization, OMG, Object Management Group, and the Digital Twin Consortium. So I hope you agree that bringing those organizations together creates a very strong opportunity for companies to come together and learn in all sorts of different data-driven and technology-driven fields. To give you an idea of what the area looks like, we have three different segments. There are the enterprises that deploying the technology. We also have a number of software providers and services and hardware providers as well. And the third group are around non-commercial organizations. So when there are government agencies, research institutes, universities, and standards organization. But it's a great opportunity to come together to learn from each other and really drive the enterprise AR ecosystem forward and making sure we get over that pilot purgatory that we see so often. How we do that are in our four different, what we call our strategic pillars. The first one is about delivering thought leadership. And today is a great example of that, listening to and speaking with some of the leading experts in the technology and business fields in the AR space. And it's a great opportunity to learn from other people. The networking bit is really important, the ability to share those experiences, to build those partnerships and really gain insights on how to successfully deploy the technology. We're very passionate about the educate side, and we want to see more skilled workers coming into the space. So we're actively working with universities to help define courses, doing guest lecturing, organizing outplacements, and anything we can do to get the next set of skilled workers. But really, most of the work goes on about reducing barriers to adoption. I mentioned the phrase pilot purgatory. We see this a lot, companies doing some great work, but they're not turning into bigger deployments. So we have a number of committees or monthly meetings where the members come together to help overcome those barriers and to learn from each other as well. As I mentioned, this is our 70th webinar, but if you look at this Bright Talk channel, you can have a look at a lot of the webinars. Not all 70 are on there because we haven't always used the Bright Talk channel, but you can also go to the area website and look at the webinar page there, and it goes back, as I say, a whole 10 years, but there's a lot of exciting, interesting, and informative thought leadership. We have a webinar coming up on the 6th of May, so not too far away, next week, I believe. Also looking at actual person, Dan, who's done some amazing deployments in the kind of building space, looking at the details there. So please, if you haven't signed up for that. And as I mentioned, there's lots of different webinars available for you to look at. The last couple were around kind of the connectivity and 5G, but we've also looked at a whole range of different interesting kind of spaces and fields. And finally, you'll be able to look at our fireside chats. These are kind of short, 10 to 15 minutes, 3-question thought leadership pieces, the kind of thing you can be, listen to when you're in the gym or traveling, or just have some downtime to listen to what's happening in the AR space. Anyway, that's enough from me. I'd like to introduce Paula and Adam. Amalgamated Vision is an amazing company. We're going to hear all about them. You've been on a really interesting journey. So I think, Adam, you're going to explain a little bit about that journey. Some of the people may have heard from you, but if they haven't, they're going to get a real insight to what you're doing. What I would ask for you listening to this webinar, please take the opportunity to ask some questions as we go through. We'll probably do some of the questions after Adam's talk. I'll ask some questions, but what we really want is questions from you, the audience, because you are the people out there really interested in the space. So Adam, if I hand it over to you to start with, and maybe you can share your screen and just take us through a few insights from yourself.
There we go. Thank you, Mark. Before we begin, Paul and I would like to do a shout out to Area as well. You're a great organization with an important mission, and you really do great work. And we wanted to do a shout out to you guys before we start. Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Davis. I'm the CEO of Amalgamated Vision. We're an optical engineering company, and we design and build products for extended reality. Paula Katkin is Chief of Marketing, and she is closely involved with the end users, our customers, and the experience that they have with our equipment. We've both been involved with this for a long time, as everybody in the company. So I put together a very brief presentation so that members of the audience have an understanding of who we are, what we do. And Mark, if you remember last time we spoke, we spent a lot of time discussing laser beam scanning and virtual retinal display. And in that time, since we've developed prototypes and put them on end users, and have examined different light sources, we've really come to realize that, not unexpectedly, it's all about the user experience, and that has shaped our focus on how we develop our hardware. So let me just get started here. So to state the problem, I don't think this will be a surprise to the audience. The adoption of augmented reality in the workplace, in industry, and in the consumer world has really lagged behind the expectations. And the reason is that the user experience is poor. The methodologies that people are using, the materials that people are using to produce an augmented reality experience, the see-through waveguide methodology, the pass-through video, and the peripheral display are all good technologies, but they all have inherent problems associated with them that in the end blocks the user adoption. And people are very drawn to augmented reality to improve the efficiency and the efficacy in the workplace. But in the end, they don't feel that the benefit overcomes the barriers due to poor ergonomics or poor visual experience. So we've known this for many years, and we developed a different approach to how to provide visual augmentation, augmented reality or smart glass experience. And what we start with is that our form factor is decidedly different than the standard that people are currently using, the ubiquitous hardware that's out there at the moment. And you can see from what I'm wearing and from the images, we have a monocular approach, and we have a very unique positioning. We've put it right against the face, ultra near to the eye, but our device is small enough that it sits next to the nose and in the far peripheral visual field. So when you're using this device, you're able to look out to the world and it's non-obstructive. You see only a vague darkness next to the nose where the device sits. And in order to use the device, you just turn your head or turn your eye slightly so that the display, which is opaque, is projecting to one eye and the other eye sees the world. And that experience, that paradigm is really what makes our user experience different from what's out there right now. And I'll get to the foundation of that in a second, but the benefits of having something so small is that you have no real world obstruction. You don't have digital data cluttering your visual line of sight and increasing your cognitive burden. It's very small, so the ergonomics are good. It sits next to your face, very light, less than 30 grams on the face. The image quality is excellent. We match the image quality of a smartphone or a display, and it's small enough that it is able to sit behind a pair of corrective glasses, protective glasses, or even personal protection equipment, PPE, such as a face mask or an aerator. The beauty of this paradigm is that you can move seamlessly between seeing the real world and having visual augmentation. And that's due to binocular rivalry. And that's not something we invented. It's a natural physiologic phenomenon. And that is when the eye is when the eyes present to the brain two differing images, the brain tries to resolve them by oscillating dominance, ocular dominance back and forth. And it kind of brings both eyes into a mosaic where the digital image and the real world begin to blend into one. And what we found is that we can produce three states of visualization. There's the first state where you just look out and you see the real world. The second state where the luminescence is very, very bright. And that's a digital dominant state. And the digital content is really takes up most of your attention. It's kind of like looking at a smartphone. And then as we bring the luminescence down and the digital content tends to match, I saw the cat, and the digital content tends to match the world around you, you get a true AR experience. So much so that if we put up a digital image of a bird, you know, of a blackbird, a cardinal or something, and you look at somebody and it looks like they're wearing a graphic t-shirt with a bird imposed upon it. It's a very compelling experience. As we put our device on end users, we came to appreciate kind of a core truth for us that now shapes the way that we look at augmented reality. And that is, for the hardware to be successful, it needs to be inconspicuous. The more the hardware fades into the background, the more natural and innate the user experience is with the visual augmentation, the better the experience with the software, the better the interaction with the digital content. So, and that's really where we think we are and the space that we want to stay in and improve upon. It's important because we feel that eyewear, hardware, is the best vehicle for mobile interactive artificial intelligence when you move about in the world about you. And in order to use that successfully, seamlessly, you really need a natural interaction with the visual field, with the digital data that you're using. So what you see here on the screen is when we developed this for our end users at the Air Force and at NASA, we put our content on a smartphone. It was voice driven, and these were prototypes. They weren't truly functional, relevant environment software. But what we discovered was that if you can drive the information from a phone or a tablet, and the display is a slave to the source of the content, now you can A, offload all of that to a phone or a tablet. B, it's the medium that people like to work in. They like to develop apps with a phone or for tablets. So it kind of opens up the entire developer world for you. And C, it gives you all the advantages that you can have with a phone or with a tablet, that you have voice interaction, you have a significant amount of computing power, your network connected. So we feel that our hardware, by being agnostic to the software, to the operating systems, to the digital content, or even the sensors that you bring into it, is a huge advantage. It simplifies what we do, and it enables us to capitalize on that user experience that we want to move towards. So as I mentioned, we worked with, we had SBIR government-funded contracts with the Air Force and with NASA. And with the Air Force, the use case was maintenance of the C-17 Globemaster aircraft. And with NASA, the use case was Earth-independent medical operations, giving their mission specialists and astronauts the ability to have task guidance, medical procedure guidance, clinical decision-making, while still having them aware of the environment around them, being able to see their hands, see the patient in front of them. In other words, give them the knowledge they need, the on-demand knowledge, without interfering with their workflow. And Paula can speak about this shortly, but the experience that they had and the feedback that we got was really enthusiastic, very encouraging. So we can speak about that in a moment. And I also want to emphasize that it's more than display. Even though this is the foundation of what we do, this user experience, in order to really interact with the world around you, we feel it will be important, and it's no surprise that you'll need some kind of video or sensor input. It doesn't have to be video; it could be some type of sensor that looks around the world around you. And the design of our hardware is unique in that we can align the camera or the sensor with the display so that you can exactly co-register the digital content with the world around you that the camera is seeing. And because the eyes are yoked, when you use our hardware, you now have an unobstructed view of the world. You have your digital pass-through, your digital content, and now you have a true mixed AR, a true mixed reality experience. And because of that collinear geometry, you can have a very high spatial co-registration, even if you're working on something close to your body. It's easier to co-register things, bring them together when things are far into the distance, when you're at, infinite focus. But when the closer you get, it's very important to have that camera or sensor exactly aligned with your eyes and your hands. And that's what this collinear capability does. And you can see here, and this is a standard mixed reality paradigm. On the left, the unobstructed view of an engine. On the right, you see the video pass through, and there's the digital content of a spring or in a spark plug, whatever that might be, superimposed. And together you get this true mixed reality with the digital content accurately superimposed on the world. And that is where we want to head to. We're in the process now of moving towards commercialization, and this is in the future for us. So I think I'm going to stop there because I know that you have questions and you'd probably like to discuss a lot of the things that I just mentioned. So these are specifications. I'll just leave them on the screen for a few minutes. People can look at the specs. They can look at commercial prototypes, and we can start a conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adam. Paula, I don't know if you wanted to add anything because you've been listening to Paula, and please, people listening, you've asked the questions. It should be easy enough just to type in the questions afterwards. But Paula, would you like to add a few things?
Yeah, and thank you, Mark, and thank you, Adam. I think the singular point I would make before we open it up for discussion is that Adam mentioned at the beginning of his talk that adoption has lagged, and many people will agree with that AR should be more widespread and wearable AR should be ubiquitous by now. And the reason that people say it lagged is because the premise makes so much sense. To have digital information, real-time information available when you need it, where you need it, to help accomplish a variety of tasks seems to make infinite sense. And why wouldn't we want that? And the reason that it has lagged, as Adam was saying, was not because the idea is wrong. It's because the experience to date has not been acceptable, either in an enterprise environment or for most people in a consumer environment. So we are clearly not the first people who have come to that conclusion, but we are, I think, among the first to really try to focus on essentially making the hardware disappear. The ultimate compliment that we have received from people who have tried our headsets is that they forget they're wearing it. And that, I think, is the goal for the industry, and certainly what we're trying to get to. And our binocular rivalry paradigm is a step closer to that reality than has been achievable with other headsets that are currently available.
Awesome, thank you. I've got a bunch of questions for you guys, and I'm sure the audience will start to come in. But you mentioned about the monocular side. Have you seen hurdles from companies or people about using monocular AR? You know, yours is more than that, but have they had some history with other experiences? Do you hear something about that as an issue?
No, Paul, I'll take this if that's okay.
Please.
No, we haven't, because really there have been very few products that have been opaque and monocular. Monocular and see-through, there have been many products.
Right.
And it's been around for a long time. Yes, we're seeing that with the see-through waveguide consumer products that are out now. But there is a long history of monocular see-through. It was the methodology used in the Apache 64 helicopter for guidance, task guidance. And what the studies found over 20 years ago is that when helicopter pilots fly these planes and are using a monocular see-through device, they would close one eye or the other to either concentrate on the digital content or the world that they're seeing. And the reason is because that see-through monocular device creates visual interference. We're opaque. We have only a simple digital input when you have one eye receive the digital content. A see-through device has the digital content on a lens, a waveguide, and then beyond that, the real world. And there's a conflict between the digital content in the waveguide and the world beyond it. There are different focal planes. You know, the world around you has multiple planes of focus versus against your eye. There's conflicts in the boundaries, the shapes of the digital content with the real world. And when the eye is overwhelmed with input that it can't make sense of, what it does is it shuts down.
Right. Right.
So the few people have had experience with an opaque device. Many have had it with a see-through device. And the feedback that we receive is that our paradigm from those at NASA and in the Air Force who have used it, and other end users in the industry that we've given it to, is they find that this is a superior user experience in that it is easier to see. It's more seamless, and it's more it's faster to move in between the visualization of the world and the digital augmentation.
Awesome. And I think on a similar theme, but just one of the issues we've had with AR glasses is when you use them outside, yeah, they don't really work. You know, you get them the bright sunlight. So how does your device kind of cope with being outside in the bright sunlight?
Well, we're an opaque device, and what we've learned is that our users can see the opaque display very easily. And you're able to see the digital content superimposed on the real world in direct sunlight, out in daylight. Often when we put our demonstrator, and this is you saw it in the images, but this is what our demonstrator looks like. What I'm wearing is our commercial 3D print of our commercial prototype we're developing. when we've put our demonstrator on people, we encourage them to look at the fluorescent lights overhead or look out towards the sun. And they're really surprised that there is no loss of perception of the digital content. And actually, the interesting thing is that when we developed it, we had a very high luminescence we use micro OLED in our flat panels, and we had a very high luminescence. And when we started putting it on college students and high school students, they like the luminescence to be much lower. As they like it low enough that we do a 90% transparency on our digital content. We drop the light level down to 10% of what it should be. And very often they can see it in the digital, in our optical engine, but they can't see it on a laptop screen. That's how low level we are. So there's two advantages. The first is that we know that it's robust, our ability to see the images, but also because our luminescence is low, we know that we'll have greater savings for battery power. We'll have a lower battery usage because of that.
Which, to be honest, and there's some great questions coming up, and people on the audience, please keep asking questions. But yeah, what is the battery power like? You know, can it last a kind of a typical 8-hour work shift? Is that easily done?
Right. So our back of the envelope, because we don't have a commercial prototype yet out, and I don't like to overstate, because until something works, it doesn't work. Our back of the envelope projections are that we will easily be able to have a 6 to 8 hour life off of a rechargeable battery that will fit into a pair of, will fit into the eyewear itself. Remember, we are only driving the display. We're offloading all of the heavy lifting on the software to another device, to edge computing, tablet, or smartphone.
Cool. Great. And there's maybe a question with that coming up, but let me ask some of the questions that have come in from the audience. What kind of tools and support are available for application and content creators to develop your headset? Now, you've mentioned it's early days for you, but have you got some plans and thoughts on what that may look like?
Yes, actually, we're meeting with software developers now, and they're along the lines of where our opportunities lie, but we are open to any suggestion. We have spoken with a medical software company that provides medical task guidance on a smartphone or a tablet, and it's menu driven and AI navigated, and that moves along the end use the end use application for NASA, which is emergency medical treatment. So what we and we've spoken with other vendors who currently have diagnostic tools for aircraft maintenance who would like to put it up on a heads-up display. And we always have the same discussion with them, which is, we're a slave to your software. So all we need is for you to develop your app or your software so that it meets the format of our heads-up display, which we will try to mimic a smartphone. We'll have about a 2-to-1 aspect ratio. Our field of view is the equivalent of holding a smartphone at about 15 inches from the face. So if you can format it so that it works well in a hands-free smartphone tablet situation, we can bring that into our eyewear.
Can I weigh in on that one, Adam?
Please.
I think generally we are not planning to create an SDK. We are content agnostic, and that's really the point Adam is making. We used ProtoPie to build our own application when we were demoing for Air Force aircraft maintainers. So we are, in fact, an optical engineering company. Our IP is in the optics. We can plug into any digital device. And basically, as Adam said, if the format is correct, we can display any digital content built for any purpose. So we really are slave to the software, I guess is one way to put it. But we are neutral in terms of what you're using to build whatever your application is.
But I think that's a very unique selling point or a value there, isn't it? That, you know, you don't have to, I assume you have some guidelines around the size, but it's not rocket science. You know, you've said it's a display, but allows almost anything and everything to come onto the device and be used obviously in the right way. So I think that's
and it
another...
also, you know, it addresses another issue when we talk about building for Air Force, for instance. There are immediately questions around security and infrastructure, and do we have to change our systems in order to use your headsets? And the answer to all of that is no. We are not impacting infrastructure in any way. We're really a plug and play display alternative.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. Is the imagery projected into the eye regardless of where the eye is looking?
Good question. Thank you. No, it is not. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. You need to look into the display in order to see the digital content. So, and when you do that, it's important to note that we purposely put the device medial to the eye. And the reason is because it sits within the area of binocular vision. So whenever you see the digital content, you will have the overlap of the unobstructed visual field. So you need to orient in that direction, but you're non-obstructed because the other eye can see the world.
Yeah, and again, I think that's part of that uniqueness, isn't it? That you actively want to look at that display or content or whatever it is.
Right. Because when you don't want the clutter, the digital burden, you just look away and now you see the world unobstructed.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we have some more questions coming in around resolution.
Sure.
What is the resolution of display? How rich the content the display can be?
Thank you. We originally started with laser beam scanning in order to get that high resolution that we wanted. But in the last, and it certainly works. We've certainly can produce a high resolution display with RGB lasers and do a direct retinal projection. But micro LED technology has advanced to the point where they're commercially are producing 5 micron pitch pixel micro OLED. And the resolution of our device is in the 2 arc minute or so territory. So we're basically meeting the limits of human vision. We put an eye test together for our hardware, and we put up characters that were 5 arc minutes, and they were easily distinguished, easily read by any of the end users who had good vision, usually younger people. And a 5 arc minute letter means that you are distinguishing the smaller elements of it. That's how a Snellen chart works. So we know our resolution is better than 5 arc minutes. So we're at the limit of resolution. I like to say, if you can pack it into a smartphone, we can show it on our hardware.
Okay, sounds good. A kind of a simple but obvious question. It looks very light, Adam, we got it. Can you talk a little bit about how light the actual device is? I think there might be some in the spec, but it'd be interesting just to call that out.
Sure. We are, without question, the commercial prototype will be less than 30 grams on the face, because we know that, we've developed it, we've built it. And when we move to a commercial prototype, this won't change. We know what all the elements weigh and what the flex cables will do. We believe that the entire device will be less than 100 grams total, and that includes the batteries and all of the digital circuitry for the input, output, and all the other items that are needed for a wireless head-worn device. We won't know that until it's finally built, and a lot of that will have to do with how good our industry partners are at miniaturizing the circuitry and decreasing the size of the power pack. but certainly under 100 grams. Just looking at what's about the commercial devices available now, will certainly be under 100 grams. But the important thing is less than 30 grams on the face.
Awesome, and to be clear, those earphones are separate earphones. They're just for you on the webinar, and nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nothing to do with
Yeah.
that. So just on that part as well, then, people like myself has prescription glasses or safety glasses. How would that work from a industrial perspective?
I'm going to switch for a second. So we were speaking with a technology company, and they're very concerned about placing the device behind fashion glasses. And the mandate was you have to be small enough so that you can fit behind a pair of sunglasses. So we redesigned our system, and what you're looking at here is what we can achieve. And this is a flat panel display with a pancake lens in the front. So our eye relief, in other words, from the eye to the optics, is 10 millimeters, which is very close, but is very stable because our device sits against the nose and the temples and the superior orbital rim, so it's very stable. The device is now 13 millimeters in length. That means we're 23 millimeters from the eye, and the typical set of glasses is about 30 millimeters. So we can comfortably place our device behind a pair of corrective lenses or protective lenses, or even a aerator. We've put it under an aerator that the Air Force uses when they're working with noxious chemicals, and we easily fit under a personal protection device. So our feeling is that our device will fit behind whatever type of lenses you require, which can always simply be snapped onto the front of the device, whether they're corrective lenses or protective glasses.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Just a quick shout out again for any more questions. I've got one which I want to kind of leave a little bit towards the end, which we're getting there in that moment. But if anybody else has got any kind of questions, please put them into the chat box. In fact, I'm going to ask the question now that someone's brought up, which has been on the tip of my tongue for a while, because, oh, no, actually, we've got one now. Has it been medically verified that projecting a laser through the eyeball is safe enough for the human body? I know this is one, Adam, you've talked
Yes, invariably somebody asks us that, and I'd like to emphasize that what I'm showing to you now, our latest commercial prototype, and where we're moving forward towards this device, will be using a micro OLED flat panel display. Having said that, there's no reason that you cannot move forward with laser beam scanning. We have proven the optics and the design and the form factor. So that is still on the table for, if people would like to develop that. Is laser beam scanning safe for direct projection into the eye? And the answer is yes. Laser light in the eye has been studied for decades. It's actually, there's a large amount of experience in the medical community with lasers in the eye. And laser light, like any source of light, really comes down to the power. If the power level is low enough, then it is safe to view continuously. And in fact, when we built our laser beam scanning prototype, well, it's important to mention that in the optical design, we throw out about 99% of the light. And that was always a problem for building an optical design close to the eye, that there was a lot of light loss. But in the laser beam scanning, it was actually an advantage in that design. We brought it to underwriters' laboratories to have them test it, because the Air Force required us to have an independent test of our laser beam scanning device before we could put it on airmen. Which was very practical of them, very safety conscious. And we were certified a Class 1 laser device, meaning you could use our laser beam scanning hardware for continuous visualization at a safe level. As a matter of fact, we were only 10% of the limit that we could have gone to be a class 1 laser. So we were very safely in that zone. And thank you for asking that.
Yeah, thank you. It was a great question as well. So I think the last question for today, unless someone comes in last minute, is about estimates on commercialization. The question actually asks about both with and without the spatial awareness stuff. Yeah, I know. Well, I'll leave you guys to
Right, and hence the most difficult question for a startup in today's world. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Paula, do you want to take that, or would you like me to take that?
You can go ahead and take that one.
Okay. So we right now we have been funded at this point with some design wins from private corporations, and we mostly funded by federal funding, the SBIR program, which has funded us to date. As many of you know, there was a lapse in the SBIR program, and that set many small technology companies back 6 months because of the lack of funding. That is now up and running again. And there is a lot of interest from our end users as well as other government agencies. So right now we are looking to the government for continued funding. We are looking to strategic partners who are interested in partnering with us to bring this device to the market. We've already done the calculations. We've already run through the engineering Gantt charts. We are confident that we can do a commercial prototype, display only, a commercial prototype in about 12 to 15 months. So if we started today, we would be delivering one in Q2, Q3, 2027. And by commercial, by that I mean a ruggedized device with input-output that you could field test. You could put it on employees and see how it works out in the community with the software that you want. So we're really looking a year and a half away from having a device that you can use. The camera part is way more complicated. That would be about 1 year after that. And I saw a question about resolution and pass-through, and I'm going to try to answer both Mark's question and that question at the same time. We've already designed a camera on the front of our device, but what that requires, and it was a typical cell phone camera. You know, those designs are out there. We used just a standard industry parameters. What that will then require is the input from the cell phone camera and then the software through IA image matching to match that to the digital display. And that's a more complicated device. I think that would follow the display only by 6 months to a year. So in summary, a year to a year and a half out for the display only that we were just discussing all this time, and another 6 months to a year for the optical see-through device. Does that answer the question adequately?
It does to me, but I'd like to emphasize, you know, you are looking for partners at this stage. I think being involved in the very early stages of this will obviously benefit yourselves, but also benefit the companies who will be able to provide their kind of insights and real life experiences or real use case experiences. Because that's the bit, and I know we've spoken a lot, you know, you've got a really great understanding of how this fits into the AR space. You know, this bit about such a focus on hardware, but actually you're saying it's not. There isn't a focus on hardware because they won't even know the hardware is there. And that's, to me, one of the key messages. And thank you for, you know, pushing that and making everyone aware, because it's going to be important. So finally, guys, if someone wanted to reach out to them, obviously, please come to me at marketthearea.org, and I'm happy to share it on. But if they need to contact you, what's the best way of doing that?
People can email me, adavis@amalgamatedvision.com. I think
if I on one page, yeah.
Yes, yes, that's exactly where I'm going. Can you see my screen?
There we go. Yep, perfect.
Okay, in the lower left-hand corner, that is my email address. And anybody in the audience, please feel free to reach out to us to discuss partnering, to discuss opportunities, just have a good conversation about the paradigm. That alone is, we enjoy doing that as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, Adam, Paula, thank you very much. Hopefully the audience have certainly learned a lot. I have, and enjoyed that. We're really looking forward to continuing to support, and thank you for your time today. And thank you for the people listening. It will be available on demand. If you need to go back, you should get an email with that link. And we will be doing some reach out on LinkedIn for the people who haven't been able to watch it. So please feel free to comment or to share and repost and things like that, because it is a very interesting space. So again, thank you very much, guys. And everybody have a great rest of their day.
Thank you, Mark.